Hello and welcome to our Getting Started video for FORMSTACK Copilot. Copilot is our new workflow builder where you can design and automate processes to save time and get more done. With FORMSTACK Copilot, you're able to combine the power of data collection and document generation alongside e-signature in a single workflow automation tool, with an easy-to-use drag-and-drop builder giving you the power to build workflows in minutes, not months, so technical teams can focus on what matters most. FORMSTACK Copilot is still in beta, and some of the things you see in this video are eligible to change. For today's example, we will be setting up a form-to-form Copilot workflow for a student application, where the first form is being filled out and then routed for approval by an HR manager. You may already be doing this with some of your forms by using the submission redirect process to take the user from one form to another and including pre-filled data passed through the URL. This makes that process even easier for you, the form process designer, and for your users. Please note that Copilot workflows are different from form workflows, and this example is meant to give you an idea of some of the things you can do within Copilot. To get started, we can log into Copilot from our app stack on the top right. Once logged in, we can create a workflow by clicking on the Create New button on the top right. From here, we can name our new workflow and create a description to establish the purpose of our workflow. Once we've finished with our title and description, we can click on Continue. From here, we want to add two forms, with one for the initial step and one for where we will be setting up an approver. Let's click to configure our first step. We want to select our form. In this case, I have a student application form that we will be using for this initial step. After selecting your form, you'll also see an option for mapping any default values for your form fields. Once finished with our first step, we can click on Done on the top right to continue. It's worth mentioning that you can now see the first step has been configured by the green check mark that appears on the top left corner. Moving on to our second step, let's add the approval form, and then we can move on to mapping any of the values from the student application. For this example, we'd like the approver to see the name of the student from the first step. Since this is the second step, you'll notice a new option to assign this step to an approver. Let's click Next on the top and go over some of the options here. In our example, we'd like to assign the approver as a set email. In order to do this, we'd want to toggle this option off, and then we can either add a dynamic email address that was filled out from the student application form, or we can write in the set email for the approver. Let's go ahead and specify the email address for this example. It's worth mentioning that you have the option to add multiple approvers to this step by clicking on the Add Additional Assignee option right below. This would be extremely useful if you'd like to have multiple approvers on the same step. Please note that once one of the approvers has completed this step, it will no longer be visible for the other assignee. We also have the ability to customize the subject of the email, as well as piping in values that were previously filled out on the student application form. We're going to go ahead and click Done to finish our workflow. We can now see two green check marks beside each workflow step that has been configured. Let's go ahead and see how this workflow performs. First, we need to click on the top right where it says Share, and then we can copy the URL of our workflow. Please note that this workflow will only be in effect if you're using the link and not if you decided to use the form URL itself. For the first step, let's fill it out as if we were the student. Now that the application has been filled out, the approver will receive a notification email. Clicking on the email, the approver will be able to see the fields that we had mapped from the student application and can then submit the form accordingly. That's it for our Getting Started video on Copilot and how you can use multiple forms as a part of a workflow. For any additional questions you might have, please remember that you can always contact our support team by clicking on the eye icon on the top right. Thank you for watching.